on Friday night, I believe, I was in New York. Actually got to see the new Mary Poppins, Mary Poppins Returns, and I got to see an interview with Emily Blunt afterwards.
What do you
So
mean interview? Like in person or?
yeah, she
Oh
was
wow.
there. She came in and they did like a half-hour interview after we watched the movie. It was super cool. I was
Wow.
invited. Yeah, yeah. I was invited by one of my friends, who's a part of this like theater acting program, and we got
Yeah.
to see her. We didn't ask her any questions specifically, but we were in the same room there, so I got home pretty late that night.
So potentially you still have air from her lungs in your lungs.
Oh, absolutely. Oh yeah.
I hear that movie's fantastic.
Oh my gosh, I loved it. That was actually the second time I had seen it, but it really captures the essence of the original.
That's what I
And I
hear.
Yeah, no, I love the music. I mean, Emily Blunt does an amazing job, and I love Lin-Manuel Miranda as well.
Yeah, me
So
too. Have you seen Hamilton yet? Are you lucky like that or?
I have actually
Oh, I hate you. I gotta let. I can't do this. This is ridiculous.
Oh, it was actually really funny because I had been this happened a couple months ago, but I was super stressed out because I had found these tickets online and we had gone for it and purchased them. But
Yeah.
after we had purchased them and everything, I was like, oh my gosh, wait, what if these aren't real? What if we get to the box office and they say these are fake or whatever? But we ended up getting there and it was fine and they were all set and everything. But in the aftermath, I was like, we probably should have been a little more careful when we find cheaper tickets, especially with
Yeah.
Hamilton.
God, what was it? It was almost 15 years ago. I think I saw Monty Python.
Oh
What
yeah,
was it called? Monty Python's Quest. It wasn't that Quest for the Holy Grail. It was something else, right?
yeah. No, no, no. There's a few of them.
Yeah. But they let me do standing room. And I thought that was freaking so cool. I got the ticket the same day. You know, it was a really popular show. I
Mm-hmm.
got a standing room ticket and stood there the entire time and watched that show. I wonder if I could do that with Hamilton. I never tried. Never tried. I'm having twins. I can't do crap.
Aw. I can imagine. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah. Yeah, man. They tie your hands. So, I'm sorry. You're going to New York. You're spending time at awesome movies. I thought you had a novel that you're writing that you're putting out.
Yes, I do. I just sent it off yesterday for the final professional edit. So it's being published this spring. I'm going to be releasing an official date soon, but I'm super excited. It's a paranormal thriller called Missing Her. And it tells the story of this girl, Vanessa, and her best friend Eliza goes missing. And after a few months of nothing happening, Vanessa wakes up one day in Eliza's mind, 2 days before she goes missing, and she has to relive Eliza's memories leading up to the disappearance and kind of put the pieces together before time runs out.
Okay. So, this is your second novel.
This is my second novel.
That's pretty cool. And when's it coming out? Did you say already?
It's coming out this spring. I'm
Spring.
releasing so it's in a few months, few short months.
Wow, it feels like it's gonna be forever, man.
Yeah.
This winter really hasn't been that bad though. This storm yesterday wasn't too bad, right?
Yeah, no, it's pretty where I am right now. It's pretty windy. I hear everything blowing around. But we were supposed
Oh,
to
really?
have we were supposed to have like a flash freeze this afternoon, but it wasn't that bad at all. So,
Yeah, it doesn't look bad out there either for me. Well, I'm in Jersey too. I mean, just by New York City though.
mhm.
I just, where you by Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We were a little worried when we were in New York on Friday because we were worried about the ice and everything, but it ended up being thankfully not too bad because that would have been a problem if we were stuck in the city.
Yeah, man. With the last storm we had, who knows what's gonna happen nowadays?
Oh yeah.
We're gonna get screwed. I mean, my kids are like 2 miles away. It's be an hour to pick them up. It's
Aw.
crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. So, you had wanted to talk about STEM in writing, right?
Mhm.
And I'm just curious. You saw Mary Poppins, that's an old school speculative fiction piece written what? Do you know? 19 something? 1910, 20,
Uh
30s, right?
yeah.
1930s.
Yeah, 1930s.
Say 1935. I don't know. They had a bunch of sequels or whatnot. So
Mhm.
you're watching that. And obviously you're a STEM person. That's what you want to go into. Something what science, tech,
Mhm. Mechanical
engineering, and
engineering.
math.
Yeah.
Yeah, like mechanical engineering. So you're watching Mary Poppins. Are you seeing your field pop up in the writing? Have you read Mary Poppins the novel? Did you spot something STEM related that kind of tickled your
I've
mechanical engineering fancy?
I've read excerpts of it, and I actually saw Disney came out with a movie a little while ago, Saving Mr. Banks, and that kind of showcased like the behind the scenes of it, and there was actually like a whole
Oh, I saw that.
backstory. Yeah, no,
Wasn't Tom Hanks in it?
yes,
He
yes,
played
he
Walt
played.
Disney.
Yep.
Yep,
Oh my, I loved that movie, and I
it was
really,
good.
oh my gosh, it showed like a whole different side of it because Mary Poppins is like this. She's a huge character in the storytelling industry, but you had no idea all this backstory that went into it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but mechanical engineering wise, there's so many. I feel like mechanical engineering and just engineering in general goes into storytelling in a way to make the transition from reality to storytelling as seamless as possible. There's that very famous scene in the trailer for Mary Poppins Returns where Emily Blunt says, "Off we go," and then she leans backwards into the bathtub and like she falls into it. And there's like all these sequences like that, which are actually practical effects. So they look so seamless and so fluid, but in the background, there's all this mechanical stuff and engineering and such going on. And like that's where I want to thrive, in that area between the storytelling and between the science, to make that as fluid as possible and to kind of blur the lines between story and reality.
And you think STEM does that?
Oh, absolutely. They're actually extending STEM into the word STEAM to put art in there as well. So
Hey,
science.
cool.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yes, because it's important, and like there's this people feel like there's this gap that science and technology can't relate to art, but I
Fuck
find
that,
that,
man, right? As
oh,
a science fiction
absolutely.
author, I look at science all day long.
Oh
I
yeah.
spend most of my day reading science,
Mhm.
finding out what people are talking about, what their opinion is of this or that. That's really fantastic. And I love it. And I didn't study that in high school or college for that matter.
Mhm.
I did the English route. I mean, I had to take obviously the free recs. I did whatever it took to graduate, but I found the stuff interesting, but I didn't go
Yeah.
farther. I can't do the math. The
Mhm.
math just boggles my brain. It just
Mhm.
doesn't work. And you're right, though. When you're writing a novel, are you a plotter or are you a pantser? Is that the right two terminologies that people use?
Yes, yes.
Pantser and plotter, yeah, whatever. Pantser
No,
and something, pantser
yeah,
and
yeah, the plotter and
a
pantser,
plotter.
like the
Yeah.
yeah, those are the big two words they use. There's a new type they're calling a plantser, which means you do a little bit of both. But for me, I'm
A
totally a
planter.
plotter.
I love that. I
Yeah,
want to be a planter. I'm not.
yeah,
I'm nowhere close to a planter, but I really want to be one badly.
yeah.
I'm such a pantser, man. I don't even know. I go into a story with a concept, like, hey, I want to write about, I don't know, New Amsterdam, and then I just start a story, and then I have an Indian guy dead, and I'm in the craziest world ever. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so funny because I'm totally a plotter all the way. Like I have to have the story laid out, but I totally appreciate that. I've tried doing pantsing short stories before just to kind of see what happens, but
yeah,
I find that if I have a structure and I think things out beforehand, I find that my writing flows a lot better. But I have a lot of
I
respect
just,
for pantsers.
yeah, I've realized just now that it's basically the same thing anyway, right? You're just not putting as much detail into it as I might.
Yeah.
I like go from A to the end of the story, and I'm constantly tinkering at the very beginning, not quite sure what I'm going to do,
Mm-hmm.
the general idea, but I'm basically just rewriting the beginning of the story until I get to my word count. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
As far as my
Yeah.
short fiction is concerned, what's your word count on the second novel?
Right now it's settling in around the 50,000 mark. So it's, I think in the end it's going to be like 52, 53,000. Once all like the final like cuts and everything have been made. So yeah, it's going to be right around there. So we'll see. But
Yeah, 52,000 is nothing to snuff at. But I was reading Day Publishers, Publishing House, or whatever they're called. They have open submissions for novels,
mhm.
but they won't look at anything under 80,000 words. My
Wow.
novel's like 65 or something like that. I'm like,
Hmm.
not there yet either. I can possibly get it there. I know I can, but I'm like, that's interesting that they have a limit. Like, and people have been talking about it. As in, what's your novel? Oh, it's only 60,000. They need 20 or 30,000 more. Do you feel that?
Wow.
I mean, we're talking about math here, right? We're talking about numbers. And
Hmm.
when you have a big, thick book, what you're doing is putting more likelihood that somebody's going to pick it up. Is, I
Hmm.
mean, one, is that the case in an electronic world where you don't have to visualize a novel? You're no longer looking at the bigger the better. You're looking at something else to
Hmm.
galvanize your desire to buy it. Um, but I mean, you're looking at your 55,000 words. Are you thinking I need to bulk this up, or am I
Well,
satisfied with that?
definitely an underwriter, and it definitely started. It started like I would say like a couple. I would say like it started. The first draft finished around the 40,000 word mark, and then I had to definitely bulk it up and make sure that it wasn't just the skeleton of a story. I
Yeah.
added in a lot of like the smoothing and everything. But I know some readers that absolutely immediately go for the super thick books, and then I find that
Mhm.
some readers are kind of intimidated by it and sort of go towards the smaller novelettes and like shorter novels and things. So I think it goes both ways. That's an interesting thing you said about the ebook. I didn't even think about that, where you can't even see the word count or the page number anymore in
Yeah.
ebook
Typically,
format.
that's not going to be sold to you, right? You're going to have to dig down deep into the Amazon or whatever. I don't know. Do you shop on other platforms for stories? Did you say that you're on Smashword or whatever it's called? What is it called? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I'm not on there at the moment. But I have been looking on recently on ebooks and Amazon and obviously Kindle and all that. But
Yeah.
I still prefer holding books in my hands. I don't know. I feel like it adds something to the reading experience to flip through pages and such.
Obviously, I'm of that age where I'm 1 foot in the old world and 1 foot in the new world,
Mm-hmm.
but I have gotten away from physical books until lately. Lately, I love getting them in the mail, getting them from Amazon, picking them out of the box and having them and seeing them lying around because they get lost in your Kindle, right?
Yeah.
You're in one book. You have to finish one book. Now I look around and there's a book everywhere. I can
Mm-hmm.
constantly feel guilty that I'm not finishing anything instead of easily sweeping it under the rug.
Yeah, and another problem I find with Kindle is like when I'm on my phone, there's so many distractions and notifications and such,
Hmm.
and they're constantly like always like popping up on
Yeah,
Instagram and stuff. But when you have a book, you can just turn your phone over and ignore it and get immersed in the story.
right. So, in terms of the work that you have coming out right now, how do you
Mhm.
think STEM helped you write it?
So there were a couple of scenes actually that I had to use some of my physics in. Definitely, there's a car chase scene and such that I was definitely looking online, seeing how I can make this work. But I definitely find in plot structure wise, in trying to organize it in a way that's cohesive, it's not exactly. There's not maybe a direct correlation saying like, oh, I use such and such math or science or something to create this exactly, but it's more of an influence I feel
Right?
throughout.
Because you
Yeah.
have to base something in reality. You have to do the research.
Hmm.
If you want something to work, you have to make sure it works.
Yeah.
Right? I
Yeah.
mean, physics are one of those things, right? You can say physics, is it a plural?
Yeah. Yes.
If you say physics are, you know, very specific, right? You can't change the rules there at all,
Hmm.
typically, right?
Yeah.
Unless you're in a black hole. You change the
Yes.
rules in a black hole. Yeah, you can change the rules in a black hole. You don't even know what the rules are at this point. So whatever you want to make the rules, you can
Yes.
just make those rules about a black hole. Do you want to write? I mean, this is paranormal, right? I mean,
Hmm.
this is obviously, let's see, paranormal has ghosts, or is that giving too much away?
Well, the paranormal part doesn't come into play until a little bit later in the story. At first, it just seems like a classic mystery, and the
Mm,
paranormal aspects. The more you get into it, the more you see that this is not just a missing person case. But I definitely wanted to include some aspects of the otherworldly, so you'll see it. It comes in slowly but surely.
when when you're writing about the paranormal, what kind of research are you putting into that?
So for this one specifically, not to give too much away, but it's definitely more of, I would say, the ghostly. And I wanted to make sure that I wasn't just copying something that had already been created, because
Yeah,
I'm a huge horror movie fan and movie book fan as well. So I wanted to make sure that I was creating something that was new and authentic and original, not something that hadn't been done before.
that's like the most complicated thing in the entire world, isn't it?
Yeah.
What has been your most what's the best horror movie that you've seen like last year?
Ooh, all right. Well, last year, it was actually my favorite movie of 2018 as well. I saw Hereditary. I
Oh,
loved
wow.
that movie. I have you seen it?
I've heard of it. I'm actually walking to my computer right now to see if I can get an
Oh,
idea what you're talking about.
it's so good. It's from this film company A24, and I've just become absolutely obsessed with their newest movies. It's like this budding film company that's gaining traction. They came out with Eighth Grade, Disaster Artist, a bunch of these
Oh, did
movies.
you see Eighth Grade? That is such a good
I
movie.
did. Oh my gosh, so touching. I loved it, especially after I haven't it wasn't that too long ago that I was in 8th grade, and I can definitely attest to the realism of that movie.
What are you like 6 months away from 5 months away from graduating, or is it sooner
Yeah.
than that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
how's
in
that feel?
June.
I know
Oh
that
my
feels good. I was
gosh.
there once. It felt really good.
Yes,
That's awesome.
so excited. Absolutely so excited.
You're the
Um,
only high school kid I've ever had on my show. Only one. I just
really?
realized, yeah, I just realized that might be weird, but since you're my only one, it's okay. And I met you at Book Expo, so no BookCon. Which one was
Yeah,
it? Whole confusing
Bacan.
thing.
Bacan.
S- The fact they have two different things with the same motif is just beyond bizarre.
Yeah.
But
No, it was confusing when I was signing up. I wanted to clarify. I said, okay, which one is which? But I will be going back there again, so maybe I'll see you again this year.
yeah, I'm thinking I'm definitely going to go. I'm going to try and push that press thing again. They don't want to give it to me though. They keep
Oh.
denying me. It's like, nope, 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 nope. It's like, whatever. I'll pay your dumb $20. It was it was fun. I just want to get into a little press room. I looked inside of it and people are just lounging like they're
Mm-hmm.
all important. I was like, dude, you're not even walking around checking stuff out. A couple dudes are sleeping. Man, I want that job.
Oh yeah.
So, man, what were we talking about before we got distracted?
Yes.
Hereditary.
Yeah, Hereditary or Heredity. Oh my gosh, I absolutely loved it. It was it's not your traditional horror movie with like your jump scares and everything. It there were I don't want to spoil anything in case you watch it, but there were so many twists that made it so different from your average horror film.
Yeah,
And I just loved it. I absolutely loved it.
man. I don't even know what I've seen this year horror wise. That was good. I don't think anything like snuck in. Oh, that's not true. I did see something. Would you count that World War II zombie movie as horror? Was that called Overlord? Did you see that?
Oh, no, I didn't. I saw trailers for it, but no, I didn't get to see it.
It was absolutely horrendous.
Really?
It was so bad. I don't really watch horror movies though.
Uh,
Um, so I mean, you wrote a paranormal ghost story that you wanted to make unique in the genre.
mhm.
Man, that's some math right there. I don't even know how you would come up with that. I'll tell you my own plight, right? You're trying to look
Uh-huh.
at science fiction. You're trying to tell the future. You're trying to see where humanity's going. You're
Mhm.
trying to tell a story of what could be, right? I
Mhm.
mean, you can go the fantastic route and make it a different galaxy and put laser swords in your hands or whatever and be Star Wars, or you can set it in really hardcore rules and science or whatever. But whatever, you're going to be doing a lot of thinking about what the potential of humanity is, right? Or the potential of life, because I guess you're not going to write a story about something that's not alive in terms of
Mhm.
science fiction unless it's a ghost. Are
Mhm.
we blending that? I guess. But I mean, how do you determine what is unique in horror fiction? I mean, you're basically creating something brand new if it's
Mhm.
going to be unique, right? You're going to reinvent the wheel, or are you going to just look at the wheel and make it function in a different way? I mean, what are you doing in terms of trying to come up with unique horror fiction?
Well, what I always look for and what I always try to start with is to try to start with a central theme or idea. For this one and throughout the story, the thing that keeps coming back throughout Missing Her is the concept of family and friendship that is able to overcome, which may sound a little cheesy and cliche when it comes to the horror industry, but I again, was talking about reinventing the wheel in a new way. It kind of connects the characters in ways that are unexpected and that I believe haven't been done before in the horror industry that at least I've experienced. And I find like even in movies like Hereditary and stuff, there are so many different ways that can be spun, and the concepts of family and just completely new ways. So I always try to start with something like that and continue to build off of it until I have a story.
And what would you say in horror fiction? Is it betrayal that comes up the most? Like safety is betrayed, or people betray each other for safety, or I mean,
Um,
what are you striving for when you're writing a paranormal?
I feel like it's betrayal, but I feel like it's also misunderstanding when there's really high tension
I'm a
situations
killer.
and
Why won't you let me kill you?
yeah.
Is that what's wrong with you? Why are you running from me? I just want to kill you.
Yes. Well, I mean, I the thing I love the most, and this may sound crazy, but I love like the killers that actually have a reason and like a backstory.
Yeah,
Like
right.
Halloween came out this year, and Michael Myers is one of those examples where everyone's trying to look for like why is he doing this, and who knows? I don't. They didn't even. They never
They
really answer the
erased.
why.
No, spoiler alert. Okay, they erased everything
Yeah,
beyond the first movie. What, I mean, you saw it. I mean, I guess I should ask if you saw it. Did you
I
see it?
did. Yes, I
Okay,
did.
very good.
Twice, in
That what a
theaters.
fucking what an ingenious way to handle that story. It's all gone, guys. We're starting over again.
Yeah, just forget that
Jesus,
happened. None of it happened. It's fine. Forget it.
you got the best. That's the best, and it's even better that the dude who wrote it is the what's his name? He's the one who's on the James Franco movies all the time.
Yeah, no. He's like a comedy writer. What was his
Yeah,
oh, David Gordon Green.
no, the other one. There's
Oh,
another
the
guy
other one?
too.
Oh, yeah. No. He directed it, but no, I know who you're talking about. Yeah, no, but my biggest
Did you think
question.
it was good?
So I saw it twice in theaters. I saw it twice, and the first time I wasn't really sure what I thought of it, but the second time it grew on me. I'm not gonna lie, it grew on me. There were some sequences. I mean, if we're gonna talk about spoilers here, when the doctor put on the mask and everything, I was like, I wasn't really sure how that it didn't really make sense in context of things, but I think overall it did a pretty good job of taking the story in a new direction that wasn't the rest of the franchise that had already been created.
I mean, but what a great way, though. I mean, you had basically a destroyed franchise
Mm-hmm.
um, with whatever was before the Rob Zombie movie, right? Because Rob Zombie already did this in a different way. He redid everything. He said,
Yeah.
everything is trash. I'm doing it all again.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a decent attempt, right? But it definitely wasn't 1978 Halloween.
Yeah.
This
And
movie this year was kind of like it felt like that Halloween. It was bad like that Halloween because it
mm-hmm.
wasn't art. It wasn't not going to win an Oscar. This movie's not going to win an Oscar. It just felt crappy. Like that felt crappy, and it made me mad like a crappy movie. But I
Mm-hmm.
was okay being mad. It's like it's Halloween. I mean, they've already just messed it up so bad that nobody was watching it anyway.
Yeah. There were some moments that had potential, and I feel like if they had like at least a cohesive structure or something, that it could have potentially been good, but I definitely agree that they messed it up.
Yeah, but people thought it was really good, right? Even the
Yeah,
critics gave it positive, and it has a positive aggregate.
yeah, no, and the other thing I was questioning, because I feel like they've run out of title ideas too, because now we have the Halloween, and now this one's also called Halloween. So I don't. What's the next one going to be called? Is it going to be another Halloween too? Like
So
I don't
that's a good question,
understand.
right? I mean, now we've talked about Halloween. They've been how many Halloweens? 10, 12? It doesn't matter because there's
Too
been too
many,
many.
too many.
Exactly. Too many. So, I mean, at this point, it doesn't matter, but you're racking your brain to come up with different ideas. Yet
Mm-hmm.
Hollywood is churning out the same bullshit year after year, and we're still giving them money. You gave them to like fucking. No, do you have that AMC pass or whatever where you go whenever you want, or do you pay $14 every time you go to the movies?
No,
You
I
want to
do. I have a rewards card for my local
be okay.
cinema, so don't worry. No, I definitely used one of my free tickets for the second
Good.
time around.
Right? I mean, but maybe you paid $28. I mean, that's $28 that went to those people's pockets for that movie
Mm-hmm.
specifically for just, recycling crap.
Yeah. And the thing is, especially with the horror genre, there are people that are trying new things like Hereditary and A Quiet Place and such, and I support those filmmakers however I can. Um it's just, I feel like right now it's kind of stagnated, and that's why I think it's so important not to give up on the genre, but to not just, again, churn out stuff that's already been done, but to take time to cultivate a good story, like a authentically scary story that's not just jump scares and such. And that's what
What do
I've
you
been
think
trying to
of?
do.
What do you think of that's what you're aiming for? That doesn't have jump cuts.
I'm sorry.
That doesn't do jump cuts.
Yeah, like what are you I'm sorry, what are you asking? Like,
Well, you're saying that you want to do something that doesn't do horror but does horror.
yeah.
You don't
And
want to do jump cuts. You don't want to do
well, the thing I
things that
think
kind of.
about writing horror is that you
Hmm.
can't resort to those cheesy scare tactics like the
No,
jump
it's like, yeah.
scares or scary images
How
and
would you be able
stuff.
to do that?
Yeah, you have to create a tension that starts at the beginning and that continues to build, and it's not something so easy that you can just put a bunch of gore on screen or whatever and suddenly everyone's queasy. Like that's not something that's scary, that's something that's just gross. And a lot of the good horror books that I've read, they're not easy to come by, but it's
Yeah.
something that's really, that starts small and gets bigger and bigger until the next thing you know, like you're literally shaking as you're reading it because
Uh,
it's so
I've
scary.
read a short story on Wattpad once that I still listen to me today. I mean, this is on Wattpad. It was free. Basically, a guy was in his cabin, and somebody knocked on his door and said, "Hey, my car broke down. Will you give me a ride?" And the guy says no because he felt really suspicious. The guy looked off or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and he walked off the porch and down the street and went to the neighbor's house and had a conversation with them. And the wife's husband said, "Okay," and disappears with him. And this guy just freaks out. Then it's all about him basically thinking about this husband off with this guy. Is he going to kill him? And, he's basically talking himself into believing that it's going to happen. And at the end, he talks himself out of it. And then what you see is the car pull up and only one person get out and walk into the old lady's trailer. And you're like, oh, shit.
Oh my gosh.
It's just so well constructed. You're with the guy at the end going, of course you're stupid. Nothing's going to happen. Or, of course you're stupid. You should have called the cops or whatever. Or
Mm-hmm.
his keys disappear off the counter or something. You notice his keys are gone because he let the guy in. It was just so well constructed. And it wasn't about blood because there was no blood in the entire thing. It was
Mm-hmm.
all in your imagination. Quentin Tarantino is a great example, right? And Reservoir
Yes.
Dogs. You don't see any of the violence. It's all perceived. It's all done off screen, and then you see like the after effects, I guess, of the violence.
Yeah. And like leaving it up to the imagination is another awesome tactic, which again, I don't think Hollywood uses as much as at least they used to. Cause I mean, in Halloween, they showed you everything, every gory detail. And you're like, okay, that's fine and all, but sometimes it's scarier when you don't see what actually happens.
It's incredibly interesting to think about Pixar. I mean, not in terms of horror, obviously, but
Yeah.
in, in terms of how they develop a story, though,
Hmm.
because what they'll do is spend a very long time, years, decades, building up that arc until it's absolutely tight as hell.
Hmm.
Instead of like churning shit out just like so fast that your head is spins.
Yeah.
Star Wars, as an example, I mean, basically just spinning content out so fast. They're not taking time to realize they're creating something broader. Back in the day, they had VHS tapes. You'd watch Star Wars with commercials or whatever. You really had a lore built up around shit that didn't matter. You know what I mean? If you know
Yeah.
the katana, what the fuck? My mouth is not working. Cantina. There you go. Cantina. See, everybody in there has a story, in a book, a short story collection someplace. I mean, it's absolutely fascinating. But the rubbish that's coming out is so ill-conceived that if you decided to build something like that up about these characters, potentially you're going to get into nonsense world. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
just stops mattering.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why, like, I know that there are some authors that are able to come out with so many stories. Like, I know some people that come out with like two or three a year. And like, I can't, I take the time that's necessary to cultivate the story and make sure that it's solid before I send it out. Because I just don't have the time to come up with two or three good stories a year.
What I find fascinating about your journey is it started so soon. I mean, there's a lot of doubt that people go through to
Hmm.
even get to that first novel. It's
Hmm.
very intimidating. I mean, I don't know why, but it is. And at whatever age you were when you finished it, it's a phenomenal thing not to have to ever do again. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But there's a guy that was on the International Space Station. He got stuck on the Soyuz for days. Like they couldn't get him off. They missed their window to get onto the space station, so they ended up having to stay on there for like days and days and days. And this is like the tiniest freaking thing. You can barely move. There's no place to like float away. You're basically right there with the dude that you're hanging out with for many, many days. And he said the best part about that experience was that it ended and he never has to live it again. So I mean, you never have to write your first novel ever again.
Yes. Yeah.
At 17 years old or whatever. Now you've written your second novel, which is also very hard. What do you think? What do you think is next? What are you doing next?
Well, I definitely the first book I wanted to make sure that I was finished with it before I started my junior year of high school. I didn't want to rush it, but I spent as much time as I thought was necessary and I was able to finish it before then because I knew junior year was going to be bad and I wanted to make sure that I was prepared for college and everything. I had to put this book on hold just a little bit at the beginning of this year while I was doing college apps and everything. And then once this is published in spring, I'm not sure. I have a few book ideas that I've been starting, writing out some outlines and starting some plotting and such, but I'm not really sure where things are going to take me next. I have absolutely have plans to write in the future, but I feel like I need to continue focusing on school and focusing on college and stuff. And maybe once I'm settled in there, I'll start working on the next one.
Interesting. I just don't ever stop writing. I have always all these projects going. That's all I'm doing though. You know, I'm taking 6 hours of high school classes or whatever. That was hard. My senior year actually was easy. I did DCT. I don't know if they have that in Jersey schools. In Florida, basically, you just went to first period, which was a fluff class, and
Hmm.
then second, third, went to lunch, and then you got to go home. So it was
Wow.
fantastic. Yeah, it was a fantastic schedule. I had my senior year, barely was there at school.
Oh my, no, I'm taking AP Physics C with calculus and a 10 credit calculus course as well. So, no, I got my plate full.
You're gonna end up being a badass science fiction author. I guarantee it.
Oh
When
yeah.
you write, when you look at, I mean, I've never taken physics. I don't think I ever took a single physics class. What kind of math do you need to pre-qualify for physics? Do you need
Um,
any, or can you just jump into it?
well,
Is it survey?
well, physics is heavily calculus based.
Oh,
So
yeah. Okay.
I'm taking a concurring calculus course while I'm taking physics. Because I started last year, I took an AP Physics 1 course, which basically introduced you to all the main topics. But now that we're integrating integrating calculus and stuff, it's getting more complicated. So we'll see. We start the basic labs and such just to kind of introduce to like the college environment and everything. And then once I get into college, that's when the real physics will start.
Do you know what school you're going to?
Not yet. I've received a few acceptances already. I've gotten into all my safety schools. I actually just had an interview to MIT the other day, so
No, you didn't. That's
I
awesome.
yeah. It was really funny because I actually applied to MIT just as like a why not sort of thing, and then I couldn't believe
You
it
know
when I
what's
got
cool
the
about
interview.
that? Oh my God, dude, that's fucking awesome. One of my favorite science fiction authors is a creative writing professor there.
Really?
Yeah, and they have I think one of their policies on campus is as a student, your mind is constantly churning towards making money with your ideas. And
Hmm.
I'm looking at you going, oh my God, dude, you go to MIT as an author, you might end up being one of the most, I don't know, whatever. You're going to write science fiction. I can't promise you fame. That might be bullshit anyway.
Hmm.
You might need family and position and hidden positions to become famous. I don't even know.
Yeah, but
What,
that's oh my gosh, that's so cool. I just it's so funny because again, like MIT, you'd think of it as such like a strongly
science.
STEM oriented school. Yeah, but
Yeah.
you find the more you
Engineering.
look, yeah, there's so many storytellers and writers and so much art among all the science.
Would you go to Mars? Mechanical engineer, NASA, on a rocket for your
Absolutely.
country? Would you?
Absolutely. Okay, well, I'm a huge fan of The Martian. Andy Weir's
Oh
The
yeah,
Martian. Oh my
fuck
gosh,
yeah.
in a
Andy Weir,
heartbeat.
mention him on every single podcast. Holding it, I cannot wait to talk to that dude. It's gonna happen someday. I know it.
Oh my gosh. It's so funny because I actually first read Andy Weir's the his first book, The Martian, when I was in, I think it was either 6th or 7th grade, and I actually found his email and I emailed him about how much
Really?
I loved his book. I did, and he actually he sent me a signed copy of The Martian, and it's my prized possession. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
I love his work so much. Have you read his new book Artemis?
Yeah, I love it too. I have no idea why people hate it.
Yeah, I
Maybe
don't
I
know
just like
why.
cheese. I don't know. Maybe I like cheese. I thought that world was so magnificently built, and that character was fun, and I really enjoyed her. And man, I don't know. I thought it.
Yeah.
I didn't do terribly. Not. But being an ardent fan, I'm like, he deserves 5 stars. What the fuck is this 4.5 bullshit? No, give him the other
Mhm.
half. Give him the
Yeah,
other half.
I don't know. Were they expecting a sequel to The Martian or something
I
in
don't know
that
what.
style? But
Yeah,
no.
disappointed that it's not the same. It's not the same guy. He got Mark. What's his name? Chutney? Watney. What's his name?
Oh, Mark
Mark
Watney.
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 Mark Watney thought he was safe, but Mars came back to haunt him. Martian 2, stuck
Oh
on
my.
Mars again.
Honestly, I'd read it honestly, but yeah, no, that's not what Artemis was, and
No,
I appreciate him trying something new because it was definitely it was I you could tell it was by the same author, but it was a completely
yeah,
different story and new
loved
characters and
it.
everything.
Oh my god, it was so good. I mean, you had so many variety. I mean, I liked it a lot. I can't wait for his next book.
Hmm.
Big fan. Big fan. He's a good writer.
Yeah, well, if you ever get him on here, I will be
Oh,
so
you have his
excited for.
email. You should
I do.
send me his email.
I
Send me his
honestly
email.
might. I will.
That's the only. I mean, I could not. He doesn't have email out there anymore. He's behind a wall. He's behind what's it called? What do you want to? He's got gatekeepers all over the place now. So I'd have to go through his agent if I wanted to ask him on the show. I got a response from oh god, I can't remember his name, and I'm not going to try to pronounce it. So never mind. Who wrote
Okay.
who wrote Five People You'll Meet in Heaven? You know what I'm talking about, right? Tuesdays with
Yes.
Maury,
Yes.
Mitch Album.
Yes, Mitch Album.
His secretary wrote me and said, Mitch is very busy on his publicity tour and cannot do your podcast. So I feel like
Aw.
I would get the same response from Andy Weir's secretary as well.
Well, there's no harm in trying.
Right? So you feel like it, you shoot that email to me, I'll send him one. We'll see what
Oh,
happens. I'd love to have him on.
absolutely. Yeah, no.
And
I have it saved. I favorited it, so I still have
right?
it available. Yeah. Absolutely.
That's so cool. So you're gonna go to MIT. That's fantastic. That's in Boston, of all freaking places. Does that
Well,
excite you, Boston?
well, I am. I have a couple. I actually just got into University of Maryland, Baltimore County a little while ago. So there's a couple of schools that I'm looking at that are in that area.
Is that close
I
to home? That's like right
uh
at the border for you, isn't it?
yeah, no. I have my parents set boundaries of driving distance. I think they said 3 or 4 hours. So around that mark. It's like on the fringe of there, but I visited Boston a while ago and I
That's
absolutely
interesting.
loved it. Yeah. So I if I get into MIT, we'll know in a few months, but I would absolutely love to go there.
Is that number one?
My number one is actually Cornell, so we shall see. But MIT was funny because again, like
The
I put
Ivy League.
MIT as one of those like no way I'm getting in, just kind of throwing it out
Mhm.
there kind of schools. And then the fact that it's a real possibility now is actually it blows my mind. So I actually have never visited MIT specifically. I've just visited the area, but if I were to get in, I would definitely go up there and see it because I've heard so many good things.
Yeah, me too. I hear students up there are a little bit unique.
Hmm.
And honestly, you're a little bit unique. I mean, a lot of I mean, how are you 17 or 18 now?
I'm 18 now.
Hey, congratulations. Happy
Thank
birthday.
you. Thank you.
There's not many 18-year-olds with 2 novels. I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And it's too bad they're not in science fiction. That'd be like better in your favor, I guess.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I definitely have plans because I love science fiction. Oh my gosh, I can't get enough of reading it. But I feel like I want to wait until because I'm constantly evolving as a writer and I'm constantly
Yeah.
improving. And I feel like I want to get
As a
to a
person,
point.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, I still have so much to learn, and I really want to get to the point where I feel like I've reached a point in my life where I can create a really, really solid story and have a good understanding of physics and math and everything. So I have a basic understanding at this point, but in the future, I'll know it well enough that I can construct something solid and based in fact.
Totally, right? I don't do that. I write about physics. I'm like Einstein thought about physics. It's in all sparks and rainbows in his brain. And it
Mm-hmm.
comes out in magic in his fingertips as he writes his equation on the paper or
Mm-hmm.
whatnot. I have no clue what I'm talking about at all. But I need Einstein in my story, so I have to fluff all the way through it. But you can actually do something with it. And I mean, that's the best thing about, what's his face? Old Andy Weir. He writes from an engineering standpoint. He's a fucking engineer. He
Mm-hmm.
did the stuff. I mean, he was working that as he was writing The Egg and The Martian. He was
Mm-hmm.
working, was it computer engineering? Do you know?
Oh, I watched a talk he did. I think he said it was computer. I think he said computer
Computer
engineering.
engineering. Yeah, I think that sounds the most likely. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of people that do that. I've talked to a lot. I've told you that. I think I told you this last time. I talked to a lot of people in the STEM fields. I mean, there's a lot of engineers.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of pilots. I mean, I guess you would consider them math, right? I talked to a lot of pilots.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Write science fiction and speculative fiction, fantasy and whatnot. Helicopter pilots, a few of them, like two of them. Just,
Wow.
yeah, right? There's a few scientists coming from actual chemistry and things of that nature, writing stories and books, working in their field of you know science, math, engineering.
Yeah. Yeah. And creating stories from it, which is just it's so awesome. And it's so funny because for so long I thought I was like the outlier, but the more
Uh-huh.
that I look into it and the more that I like put myself out there and tell my story, the more I see that there's so many other people that are like me.
Yeah, and I wonder, and a lot of these people are of Canada, different places, Canada, Europe, or maybe the education system is different. I mean, I did not enjoy my education. It was very, very constricting. I
Mm-hmm.
played football, I was an athlete or whatnot, but I could not stand being in the classroom. I daydreamed, I doodled, I never paid attention. I was always the attention of the teacher. They were giving me negative attention always. So it was constantly just horrible. And
Mm-hmm.
I felt like the information it didn't matter.
Yeah.
But I hear that girls have an easier time with that kind of structure. I don't know whether or not that's true.
I
But
can't.
I mean, basically, I guess what I'm getting at is like the learning structure in school. It doesn't prepare you. It doesn't work if you're not learning that way. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you're a visual learner and they're teaching auditory style, you're not going to pick it up essentially. And I hear that's done specifically because they want people to learn a certain way only. It's cheaper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I can't speak for everyone. I feel like overall, like in elementary school and in middle school years, I had a pretty decent school experience. I find myself as a visual learner, and I do feel like I had an advantage because a lot of the stuff we were doing was visual. We were using a lot of PowerPoint presentations and one of those projector screens where you draw on it and everything, and a lot of that was very visual. But I do know that I had some friends that were more auditory, and like especially when we were doing reading and looking in textbooks and stuff, they had a much more difficult time understanding it because they needed to be engaged. I
Yeah.
feel like, yeah,
Well,
in
that's me as well, right? I have to touch it. I have to feel,
mm-hmm,
I have to tactily go through the motions of making it happen,
mm-hmm,
especially math. I have to know how that equation works from beginning to end. I mean, but unfortunately, I was a kid, it's just the wrong time to teach that stuff to me. I think now might be a better time. When I went through college, I was able to pick it up, right?
mm-hmm,
But again, it's structured in a way that it's so limited. So now I can't go back and take calculus. I can't teach that. I can teach myself potentially, right?
mm-hmm.
But there's no point to taking a calculus class at this point in my life. It's
Yeah.
not going to get me anywhere except, heaven, because obviously it takes calculus to get into heaven. I don't know.
Oh, it's so difficult. It might as well be a prerequisite.
Yeah, right. It does seem like it's divine magic to me. I don't know what calculus is at all in terms of actual function. Can
I'm
you put poetry to calculus? I mean, what a great ending to our STEM conversation. Can you put poetry to calculus? Can
you
you
know
make it sing?
Yeah, I'm not at that point yet where I have a huge understanding of calculus, but I feel like in the future, I one day hopefully will be able to grasp it to a point where I'll be able to put it directly into my work and writing.
What does a person that makes that statement make as far as a grade in calculus?
Well, right now I have a pretty steady grade, but I feel like we're getting
What is it,
into
A
a
plus? You have like 112% average in the class, don't you?
not exactly, no, but it's a solid A.
It
Uh
is okay.
yeah, no. It's I'm not gonna lie, it's a really difficult subject. And I
Mhm.
it's it that A was not easy. That grade is not easy to obtain. But I do find it very interesting, and I feel like again, the more that we explore, and I explore stories and art and everything, the more that you find that math actually plays a much larger role than I originally saw. And it's so interesting. The more I talk to people like you and other people who have feet in both doors in science and math and art and everything, it's all connected in ways that we never expected.
What's fascinating to me is I came at it from the back door, through the literature, through the writing, and I didn't expect that to happen. Being
Mm-hmm.
engaged with the science from that perspective,
Mm-hmm.
because it's an educational experience, isn't it? I mean, I'm not just putting stuff out there in a story. I'm having to learn it. I'm having to learn how to regurgitate it in a way that's entertaining, hopefully. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so we already talked about what's next for you. You don't know what your third novel is going to be, but you know eventually you're going to start writing again.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually have a few different genres. I have one strictly horror book that I've been working on and I've been planning out and all. I have one that's contemporary fiction, kind of like The Scavenger, that's not paranormal at all. And then I do have another one that's sort of a wild card that could go in multiple directions. So I don't know. We'll see where inspiration draws me next.
Well, all right. Well, I can't wait to have you back on to talk about it. Um, I don't know, man. What do you think the hardest part about where you're at right now with the novel that you're currently
Ooh.
publicizing? I mean, are you putting it? What's going on with the current book? What's the hardest part about the work that you're doing right now with it?
Well, I actually was just watching a talk that I believe it was Kim Chance was doing because she had just published the first book in her story in her series Keeper, and she's
Jen
working.
Chance,
I
Keeper.
be- yeah, she had just published the first book and she was talking about, I think she called it second book syndrome, where you
Uh-huh.
put out the first book and it does well and people like it and enjoy it. And writing the second book is a whole different beast to tackle because you're trying to create a new story and new characters, but at the same time you're trying to please the old audience and saying, okay, I'm trying to make sure that this is good enough to live up to the expectations of the first book. And I definitely feel like I was feeling that while I was writing Missing Her. I was like, okay, I want to make sure this is good and this lives up to the first book.
You're gonna have two books on your table this year.
Yeah,
You're gonna have more stuff that's yours. That's pretty freaking cool.
yeah. I
That's
honestly,
pretty freaking cool.
this scavenger was very special to see for the first time in print and see it in person. And I feel like Missing Her, it won't be the same magic, but I feel like it'll be magic in its own way because this was definitely, I feel like, more of a struggle to write than the scavenger was. The scavenger flowed so freely because I had been writing for so long and I was so ready to see my name on the cover. And
Yeah.
now that I've been established, it was a lot more difficult to construct something that was solid and different, but at the same time unique. So
Did you outsource the cover again?
I did, yes.
Yeah. You outsourced Scavenger too, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
and I actually use the same company. I'm going to be releasing it. I have it all set. It's all ready to go. I'll be releasing it in a few weeks to start building anticipation.
Okay, great. What are you going to do to build in anticipation?
So with the scavenger, since I was kind of a newbie, I wasn't 100% sure what I was doing. I did a pretty good job. I did like a little cover reveal and everything, but this time I'm actually going to be having a street team, where I'll be getting people excited about it and holding giveaways and such. and assigning people and giving them assignments to post. I have promo images that I've made and a book trailer and all. So once I start posting those to my channel, the people on the street team will share them, and in exchange they'll get like prizes and stuff that I have in store for them. I'm in the process of trying to get like candles and bookmarks and such made just to get people excited about it. Um,
Well,
so lots
that's
of big
the
stuff
way to do it,
happening.
right?
Yeah.
There's a woman I talked to from England that sounds just like you in terms of what she does when she's ready to do that thing.
Oh,
That's the
really?
thing that, yeah, I can't do that thing either. I've thought about self-publishing. I just can't. I don't want to do that thing. It sounds
Mm-hmm.
so hard. It sounds
Yeah.
so impressively hard. And how do you know, right? What
Mm-hmm.
if you have a typo on one of your bookmarks? I mean, how embarrassing would that be?
Yeah. No, I
I'm
have.
totally about typos. How many words a minute do you type?
Oh, I haven't. You know what? I checked the last time. I think I'm up to in my top rating speed. I can do 1K in 20 minutes. So I don't know what that amounts to, but
Oh my
like when
God,
I'm
if I
just
can do
speeding
1,000
through.
words in 20 minutes, that would be
Yeah,
so good. Oh
that's
God, I would love that. That's now
that's what
my new
I'm in.
wish.
That's like my peak though. Most of the time it's slower than that, but like when I'm on a roll, that's the fastest I can do.
It's awesome. Um, so we're winding down. We're almost out of time. Just because my throat's starting to
Oh.
hurt. What movie are you excited about coming out? Just curious.
Ooh, well, I saw Glass this afternoon, which I
Did you like it?
loved. I
Did you
Yeah,
like it? Is it doing
it
well? I saw whispers of not good. Don't ruin it, because I
yeah.
don't want. I do want to see that. I think I might see it this week coming up, or might maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, no, it took me a little while when I came out of the theater. I wasn't sure how I felt about it, and there were definitely some major points and plot stuff that happened towards the third act that I wasn't really thrilled with. But I mean, M. Night Shyamalan, his the cinematography is always gorgeous, and I mean, I love James McAvoy, and he did a phenomenal job, and so did Samuel L. Jackson and all of them. So I mean, it was a solid film, but I will say it did leave something to be desired.
That's
Um,
sad.
I mean, for 2019, I'm super excited about Avengers Endgame. I know we were talking about I think.
Spider-Man. Get
Oh
two
yeah,
Spider-Man movies.
yes. Oh wait, have you seen Into the Spider Verse?
Yeah, I did. I took my son to see it.
What did you guys think?
Well, he's 3.5, and I really I had to work hard to make him see the last little bit of it. But I thought it was fun. I thought it was a good movie. I thought it was a good cartoon,
Yeah.
right?
No,
That was my first introduction to that Miles Morales character.
yeah, no, my brothers knew apparently all about him from this Spider-Man video game they watched, but I thought it was very interesting. And again, like taking like the animation industry, I feel like and has kind of stagnated in terms of like Secret Life of Pets and stuff. But it's good to know that Pixar, Disney, and now this new form of Spider-Man is kind of taking animation, still putting the time and effort into making something that's unique.
Yeah, and good. I mean, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
unique is something that we strive for in this industry. We started this conversation talking about unique. Um, oh man, Peter B. Parker, what a great character that was.
Yes, and like we'd seen so many adaptations of Spider-Man, and then that was just something I'd never expected, and I
All right.
thought was so interesting.
I knew of this storyline though, because it's not old. It just came out like a couple of years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
stumbled into it when Peter Parker died and Doc Ock took over his body. The next arc was this Spider Verse thing, and I didn't like it. I didn't enjoy it. You know, it was too chaotic for me. It was a lot of business happening with all these characters,
mm-hmm.
and the movie balanced that so effectively.
Yeah, yeah, and I think they did it in a way that was, and the whole comic book mixed with animation and sketches, I thought was really interesting. At first, I wasn't sure where to look. It was a little confusing at first, but as the movie went on, I thought they were so creative and some of the action sequences, how they did things.
Yeah, and the build up, the character arc with the uncle, it just they really did a good job. The juxtaposition of all the Spider-Man um, intro stories were fascinating.
Yes.
This was Spider-Man. I mean, it was like a different guy, Miles Morales, but the elements that of the recipe were there throughout the entire thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what are you looking forward to again? Avengers only? Oh no, the two Spider-Man movies.
There's Spider-Man. There's also Pet Cemetery, the remake of Pet
I can
Cemetery.
watch it. Yeah, I can't do dead babies.
Yeah, no, I'm intrigued. I feel like the trailers for it so far look solid, so I'm interested to see
Yeah,
what
it
they
looks
do with
horrible.
it.
As
Yeah.
far as being like, it looked really bad. Not bad as in quality, but bad as in I'm not going to go see it.
Well,
I'm
and
not gonna go
next
see it.
time we talk, I'll let you know how it
Yeah,
is.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Any books coming up that you're excited about, or anything else, TV shows, or anything like this?
I was just talking the other day. There's a book coming out called On the Come Up, which I think looks so interesting. It's by the same author of The Hate You Give. And
Mm,
it looked so interesting. And it's about, I believe, a rapper, like a female rapper who's like a teenager, and she accidentally finds fame, and it's sort of like her story of like finding this unexpected audience for her work, and it just looks very interesting. So I was actually just thinking about that the other day. So I'm super excited for that.
And Disney streaming, is that coming out this year or next year?
Yes, I think it is this year.
I
I
mean, we're
was
going to get a Star Wars series this year.
Yeah, which again, I'm a little after The Last Jedi and after Solo, I'm not sure what Star Wars is
On
gonna be.
Last Jedi was good. I was riveted the entire time. I was like in tears at the end.
With Solo.
No, Solo was horrible trash. Fucking the final jet, the what's it called? The Last Jedi was good. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, no.
Unless
Okay,
that stupid blue milk drinking scene was
yes.
horrible and it should have been cut. But you know what? That's what pisses me off about all this. It's not the original Star Wars. Everything beyond it
Mm-hmm.
is horrible. No, I'm sorry. The Empire Strikes Back is good, but everything beyond that
Yeah.
is horrible. Fan service and whatever. If you're a fan, you're gonna love it anyway. So give me
Mm-hmm.
Solo. I don't. I feel bad for that guy though. I hear his career's over with.
Oh, yeah,
Eichenbach,
no.
whatever it is.
Yeah, no, I feel like and it was interesting because like there were some people that really liked it, and then like a lot of
They're
people though
crazy
it was
as far as the
yeah.
Solo or the Final Jedi, because the Solo was a mess. I mean, even having Ron Howard come in and trying to save it at the end, did not do a good job.
Yeah.
The,
Yeah.
the the aspects of the story from the original directors were so strongly there. They couldn't get rid of them with Ron Howard. Just didn't work.
Yeah, no, it was like because they reshot a lot of it, and it was really obvious. It was very stilted and
Yeah,
disjointed at parts, so it's a
they killed
shame.
off one of my favorite actresses, Thandie Newton.
Mm,
And like the first part of the movie is like, what the hell, dude? Why are you gonna have Thandie Newton die so early? I want to get involved.
yeah,
You know, all those characters are fantastic in the heist scene. I want to see that part built up more or something. I
yeah,
don't know. I don't know. It was very disappointing. But people thought that was gonna be disappointing anyway. Because how are you going to cast somebody to replace such an iconic actor?
yeah, yeah, and that's
I
like,
mean, the same thing happened in Star Trek, the new JJ verse ones when
hmm
they recast James T. Kirk. It's like, no, dum dum dum, not gonna work, and it didn't work
yeah,
for me. I don't know if it
yeah.
worked for anybody. If it didn't work for me,
And like coming full circle, we were talking about Mary Poppins in the beginning. I
yeah,
feel like
right. Oh my
there
god, and they
you go.
did supposedly. She's a fucking phenomenal. She's a phenomenal Mary Poppins.
Yes, I she absolutely killed it. And when we were talking, when she was talking in the interview, she was talking about
Damn
when
it,
she
that's a great
first got the
example.
call. She was absolutely like so stressed out because she realized like what big shoes
Ugh,
she had to
yeah, right.
fill. Yeah,
My career's
and
over with.
yeah, no, she's like, if I mess this up, this isn't gonna go over well. But I feel
Yeah,
like she understood the character so well, and I feel like there's with a lot of like the new Star Wars movies, especially with Solo, where you're recasting that character, it almost feels like there's like a gap between what was and what is now, and the character just doesn't seem like a continuation. With Mary Poppins, the story flows seamlessly from one movie into the next, and it's obviously a different actress, but the mannerisms are still the same. And in Solo is just I just couldn't bridge
yeah.
the gap for me.
Did you ever see Ewok Story? What the hell was it called? I don't know. An Ewok adventure. It's like the
Oh
80s.
my gosh, yes, I know what you're talking about.
That's what Solo felt like to me.
Yeah.
Like one of
Oh
those
my.
old school 80s TV things that came
Oh
out.
my.
Everybody got real excited, and then everybody was disappointed. Oh God, why do
Yeah.
we keep getting excited for this shit? I think they made 2 of those.
Yeah.
I loved them. They were like, my dad recorded those, and me and my brother played that tape until it stopped playing. We loved both of those so much, but they were complete trash. And Solo was complete trash too. But I guarantee if Solo came out in 1984, me and my brother would watch the living crap out of it over and over and over again because it was good. It was a good movie.
Mhm. Mhm.
It was a good movie. Or for what it was trying to be. It was not trying to be art. It was trying to be bubblegum.
Mhm.
But we wanted art, right?
Yeah, and I feel like
Art.
especially with some of the like and there are glimmers of hope in especially in The Last Jedi. There were some scenes that were just so like masterful and so beautiful.
Right?
And
Really.
then
That
like
movie was
you
good.
yeah, you
I
compare
agree. I agree. That movie was fantastic.
yeah, no, I loved The Last Jedi and I got oh my
Oh, did
gosh,
you?
I got
Good. I thought you didn't. I was just messing with you.
oh no. I did. It's so funny because I have to be very careful when I'm tiptoeing around the subject of Star Wars now because I've gotten into so many fights with people over the Last
Fight.
Jedi.
People are vehemently. Oh my God, mouth work, please. They don't like it. What are people saying to you?
Well, there was a lot of they didn't like the ending for most with Snoke and everything. They didn't like there was too many unanswered questions, and they said that there were too
That's
many questions that the Force
why it's the
Awakens left of
second
the
part.
Last Jedi didn't wrap up. Which I was like, okay, I
Yeah,
can understand that, but at the
maybe
same time, like they're trying to do something, like they're trying to create
trying to tell
something
a 3-part
different. Yeah,
story.
yeah,
It's a 3-part story. Why don't you give them time to tell their story? Are
yeah.
you riveted? Do you want to know? Then you should be mad because you don't know and you gotta wait another.
Yes,
Oh my God, dude, that shit's coming out this year, 12 months.
yes.
12
Thank
months
the
exactly
Lord.
from today. From
Thank.
today.
Oh my gosh.
From today.
Oh, thank the
A
Lord.
whole year.
We can do it. And that's the thing
Yeah.
is like you guys, I'm like, you still have time. Like, don't get so mad at it. Yeah, 'cause they're already saying, oh, we're not, there's no way we're seeing episode 9. And I'm like, guys, but then you might
I hope it
never
fails.
know.
I hope it
Uh
makes like I hope it makes like $10 and it's my $10. I hope I give not only $10 they make. That movie's gonna make so much freaking money. All of the dumb fan people are gonna go see it. It's gonna be ridiculous. It's gonna
oh
be
yeah.
ridiculous.
Oh yeah. They say
And it
they're
probably
not
won't
gonna
be hot
see it, but
garbage.
yeah. Well, I we
JJ's
can
involved
hope
again.
not. We can hope
JJ's
not.
involved again. I know it's gonna be hot garbage because The Force Awakens was hot garbage. And did you like The Force Awakens?
It I again the Force Awakens kind of grew on me, but it's just I wish they
Hot
hadn't.
garbage.
Yeah,
It's,
I wish they
I
hadn't.
hate that feeling. That feeling of I wish they hadn't. If you say those
Yeah,
words, you have a problem with a movie, and
yeah,
it's not ever going to go away.
and
You know
that's
what
the
I mean?
thing. That's the thing I'm really scared with because J.J. Abrams did Force Awakens, and they're bringing him back for Episode 9, and
Yeah,
I'm like, I
exactly.
don't know. It's
Sweaty. My palms got sweaty just you talking about it. I'm just like, oh, I don't like it. I don't
oh, because like this
like
is
it at
this
all.
is this is the
This
story
is
like
why bad
I
things
grew up
happen.
with. Yeah, this is the story
This
I
is why
grew
bad
up
things
with,
happen.
and I don't know what they're gonna do. I don't know what they're gonna do. So
Wow, you grew up with that. That's how strong you feel about
oh,
what you grew up with.
about Star Wars. I mean, we were
Oh,
just talking about VHS. My
yeah.
mom and my dad, they actually hold on to the original trilogy VHS tapes because all of the new ones have like the added extra CGI stuff that George Lucas added later. But we have the original VHS without like the other scenes and stuff, so we still watch them on the VHS tapes.
Dude, you know what I just realized? I
What?
think you're the only person I've ever talked to that was born after 2000.
Really?
I think so.
Oh
I don't
my
I don't think
gosh.
I've ever talked to anybody that was born after the year 2000. Maybe a little kid or whatnot.
Uh-huh.
Little kid, don't step there, you might die. I might have said something like that along the way. And obviously I've had lots of conversations with my 3-year-olds. They scream at me. I tell them don't do that. Then they scream at me
Oh.
again. And it's ridiculous. That's what my weekends are like. I tell them not to do something and they scream at me, or I scream at them and they just look at me like I'm dumb. This ain't gonna work, man. But yeah, I think you might be that person. I don't know.
Well, I hope that I'm still able to hold a good conversation, and we're still. I feel like we have good discussions, and I
Yeah, it was
still.
nice. I really enjoyed this conversation a lot, and I'm
Yeah.
not sure when I'll have it up. Um, but I'm trying to be a little better about getting stuff up a little quicker. I'd love to have you back on 100% for any discussion that you can think of. Takes an hour to record, so drop me an email and we'll do it if you have free time.
Sure, absolutely. And I actually just was able to pull up Andy Ware's email, so I will send that to you and let
I'm
me know.
happy. I'm gonna send him an email. I wonder if it still works. That's gonna be
I
so
don't
cool.
know. I sent it to him last November was when I sent him a most recent email, because I sent him a follow-up once I published the Scavenger, just to thank him for like being such an inspiration and everything. So I think it should still work. So
That
we'll
would be
see.
so cool. Man, I would owe you so big if I got Andy Weir on this show. I am such a big fan of the egg. The egg is one of my favorite short stories ever written.
Oh
I would
yeah.
fangasm all over the place. I probably would be like a stuttering nightmare. I have
Oh.
talked to some people, I've talked to some people that I respect, and
Mm-hmm.
it's incredibly painful. Incredible. I had an artist, like my third show, I talked to an artist who ended up just talking to me on the phone because he didn't want to be on the show.
Mm-hmm.
My heart hurt talking to him. It was thumping so hard. It was like do 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 do.
Oh my gosh.
So I'd be like that. I'd be like trying to catch my breath the whole time. I was like,
Oh my gosh. Well, you know what? You just gotta just go for it, and I'm sure you'll do great, because you have
the way
lots
it
of
works.
experience. So
I've talked to you twice.
there you go.
All right. Well, thank you so much. What do you want anybody to know? Where to find you? What information do you absolutely 100% want people to know about before your book comes out, or after your book comes out, or anything that you want people to know at this
Sure.
point?
So, Missing Her is coming out this spring. If you want any information on that or on my debut novel, The Scavenger, you can head over to my website. That's jlwillow.com. I also just started a YouTube channel where I'll be talking about my writing and publishing journey. So that's JL Willow as well. You can also find me on Twitter and Instagram at JL Willow Books. So just check me out on those platforms.
Fantastic. And thank you so much. I really enjoyed talking to you, and I look forward to talking to you again.
Awesome. Can't wait.